So far this year, Baton Rouge has seen 96 homicides. Detectives fear that we'll top 100 by the end of this year. By the way, last year we got to 133. As you can imagine, it has detectives stretched thin.
The city has just 8 detectives to investigate every death not attributed to natural causes. WAFB spent more than 4 months following homicide detectives Corporal Josh Brogan and Corporal Shonda Watts for a candid look at the crime problem in Baton Rouge as we approach critical mass.
I turn everything off. Nothing in that moment matters. It's just me, God, and the pavement.
Baton Rouge police are also investigating a shooting at a Breck Park that sent one person to the hospital. This one happened early this evening on Evangeline Street.
You have to really have a strong sense of who you are to be a homicide detective.
It was just a shooting that happened right there. These kids still showing up to practice.
1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 6.
Campbell, get that cone and put your helmet on.
And I'm concerned about what's going on in these neighborhoods. I'm concerned for the families.
You see what I'm saying?
Go! Some of these kids stay in this area. There you go. Wrap up though. They knew what happened before I even knew what happened.
Saying never give up, y'all got me?
Yes, sir.
We lied to you, y'all bump out.
As a parent, I mean, it's different. And you gotta shoot straight through there, all right? Anything can happen. Anything can happen at any minute.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 6. 1, 2, 3, 7.
These neighborhoods are mine. I grew up in North Baton Rouge. It's heartbreaking to actually have to respond to an area that you knew so well. I remember that was the Greens, and further down on the corner was my best friend's grandmother's and aunt's house, and everybody in the community really got along. As a kid, be able to go outside and play and have fun and just enjoy your environment. And now, to enjoy your environment, it may ultimately cost you your life.
Law enforcement in the capital city is thinking about the weekend that was. Another violent one. 4 shootings on Sunday alone. Police say the latest shooting happened.
We work that with 8 detectives, and it's not getting any better. I was primary on 16 or 17 murders, that's astronomical. We had a guy that had 19. The homicide division is why I came to Baton Rouge Police Department. Seeing my dad work the cases, he would actually, back then, they would have them in big folders and he'd bring them home, like as he was working them. Just always been a big interest of mine. Depending on what your partner's got going on or what the office has going on, there's no telling how many murders you actually deal with in a year's time. If we're on duty and a call comes in, pretty much any detective that's available will respond to that call.
Yes, we could use more detectives. I would be remiss if I didn't say that that was true. But we make the best with what we have. And yes, our caseload is large. It is extremely large because we're seeing a progressive elevation of crime within the Baton Rouge community. So it's not something that's just isolated to the Baton Rouge area, it's nationwide.
You hire some, your senior guys are retiring, the younger guy, how do you fill that void? We're working a case from 3 months ago, and we're almost to the point of making an arrest on it, but then Thursday happens.
Where are the guns coming from? Where are we getting these guns from?
Officials investigating a deadly drive-by shooting that happened early this morning.
We catch back-to-back murders. That's not a staffing issue, but you've got fresh murders, you've got to work them.
Probably 75% of our day consists of computer work, typing reports, getting warrants for various pieces of evidence that we have.
We're preparing for jury trial this week. It's almost like preparing for a test. You really got to know all the information and remember everything that happened during these investigations.
But when you start getting repeat offenders and they're getting slapped on the hands and we're constantly dealing with the same people, the public isn't looking at the judicial system. The public is looking at me saying I didn't do my job.
DA's office is strapped for people, we're strapped for people. We do put the offenders in jail the majority of the time, just to turn around and see them on the street a little while later. And it does affect us in that aspect because of all the hard work that we put in, and this very dangerous individuals back on the street.
They're constantly being a menace to a neighborhood, and they're constantly beating their girlfriends, and you're constantly seeing them on the domestic violence scene, and it's constantly escalating. Why does it take him killing her before he's put away for a good time?
People just don't want to talk to us. They don't want to be seen talking to us. They don't want people to know that they helped us. Ultimately, whenever these things happen in your community, we need your help to tell us what happened, because a lot of times people saw what happened and they're just not going to tell us because they don't want to be a snitch.
But if the public is not telling us, we can't get these murderers, these burglars, all of these bad actors, we can't get them off the street. If they don't want to talk to us face to face, and we understand because they live in these communities, if the public would just work with us a little bit more in that aspect, I think we would see a significant change and a significant impact in our areas that are just plagued with crime. You are the voice for that person that has passed away. You're ultimately working to be his voice or her voice. You are now putting a face to the public for this deceased person. You're fighting for them. You're fighting to bring them justice. That mother's cry is one that kind of rocks your soul.
People never think of police officers as being human.
Nope. I think the general public sees us and we're always in motion. Because of that, they don't get to tap into the human side, but we are human. These crimes do affect us. We do care. We are concerned.
Our talented team there, that inside look. By the way, homicides are not the only crimes these detectives are tasked with investigating.
They also respond to every overdose, every suicide, and any other death not attributed to natural causes. All of those cases also on the rise.